My name is H.A. Goodman, and I'm an author, columnist, and journalist. And to read my writing and to see my latest CNN appearances and my MSNBC and RT appearances, you can go to hagoodman.com. WikiLeaks releases more than 500,000 U.S. diplomatic cables from the momentous year of 1979. So this is from Julian Assange, his statement. Today, November 28, 2016, marking the 6th anniversary of Cablegate, WikiLeaks expands its public library of U.S. diplomacy with more than 531,525 diplomatic cables from 1979. If any year could be said to be the year zero of our modern era, 1979 it is. I suggest you go ahead and read. I will leave the link to Julian Assange's tweet, the message that he wrote below, essentially the year 1979 in terms of the geopolitical situation in the Middle East, our involvement in the Middle East pertaining to the modern era, a whole bunch of issues pertaining to politics, oil, religion, rivalries within the Middle East, our involvement within those rivalries, our dependence on oil, our penchant for propping up dictators that we eventually claim are very bad, and then we have to go and engage in counterinsurgency wars and regime change. All of that Julian Assange touches upon and talks about, and these 500,000 cables relate to that. Definitely go on WikiLeaks' Twitter page. 3 Mile Island partial meltdown drew interest, concern from world leaders, WikiLeaks shows. WikiLeaks released 846 highly sensitive Cherokee-coded messages from 1979 covering the Iranian Revolution. I just read a little bit of the Assange editorial on today's 500,000 cables from year zero of the modern era. Release 804. Okay, so there's a whole bunch of information. U.S. diplomatic cables on the election of Thatcher, and a bunch of other events that took place. Definitely read that. There's a very, very interesting also article from Sarah Harrison. Indexing the Empire, How to Use WikiLeaks' Public Library of U.S. Diplomacy. On the 10th anniversary of the founding of WikiLeaks, we published the WikiLeaks files, The World According to the U.S. Empire, in paperback, available at 40% off until Saturday, October 8th. Well, that was, it was written in October. So, but I will read you what is Plus D. The Public Library of U.S. Diplomacy, or Plus D, is a very large and constantly expanding collection of internal documents from the U.S. Department of State, published by WikiLeaks in a searchable archive. The library began in 2010, and at the time of writing contains 2,325,961 individual documents made up of about 2 billion words, spread over 3 collections of cables: Cablegate, the Kissinger cables, and the Carter cables. The State Department is the Foreign Affairs Department of the U.S. government and oversees the embassies and consulates of the United States all over the world. Each embassy or consulate corresponds to the State Department in Washington, D.C. by sending daily telegram reports or cables between them using a special electronic communication system. Plus D contains within it the WikiLeaks publication known as Cablegate, the collection of State Department cables published by WikiLeaks in 2010 and 2011. Cablegate itself consists of 251,287 cables, accounting for a whole bunch of words, hundreds of millions. If printed out in a standard-size font, Cablegate alone would form a single line of over 6,000 kilometers long. So the information is breathtaking. WikiLeaks specializes in publishing, curating, and ensuring easy access to full online archives of information that has been censored or suppressed or is likely to be lost. An understanding of our historical record enables self-determination, publishing, and ensuring easy access to full archives rather than just individual documents, essential to preserving this historical record. And then it goes on to how to read the cables. There's just so much information here. I will leave you this link as well. So in terms of WikiLeaks, the latest cables from 1979, there's so much information. There is a way to sift through all the information and read, and basically it is not only a testament to whistleblowing and to why a whistleblower is important. This is also, WikiLeaks is a publisher that will publish information that the government oftentimes does not want you to know. Information that is cited in the New York Times, the Washington Post, every publication around the world. So it's not only information that governments around the world, or maybe our government, doesn't want you to know, but it's also information that is also cited. So you can't say that WikiLeaks is doing something wrong when everybody on Twitter or social media, or anybody who reads the New York Times and Washington Post or watches CNN has access to this information. If WikiLeaks is doing something wrong, then the entire planet should be indicted. That being said, definitely check out the latest release. There's so much information, it's kind of difficult to put into one format in a YouTube segment, but I will put the links below. Give me your thoughts on the latest WikiLeaks release, and I'll just read you really quickly. The Daily Caller has an interesting summary of the latest WikiLeaks release. WikiLeaks releases more than 500,000 U.S. diplomatic cables. WikiLeaks released Monday more than 500,000 U.S. diplomatic cables from the year 1979. If any year could be said to be the year zero of our modern era, 1979 it is. WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange said in a press release. In the Middle East, the Iranian Revolution, he talks about Saudi Arabia, Egypt, Israel. The total number of documents in the WikiLeaks diplomatic cable is now 3.3 million. The Iranian Revolution, Saddam Hussein takeover in Iraq, the Soviet invasion of Afghanistan. This is a developing story, and the Daily Caller will be digging through the newly released documents. So there you go. We have the Daily Caller, and I'm a contributor to the Daily Caller. We have every publication on the planet looking at this. WikiLeaks is not only a publisher, but it sets the agenda now for media throughout the world. Everyone is interested in what WikiLeaks publishes. So that should tell you the importance of WikiLeaks to the world. Give me your thoughts below. I'll leave you the links. Thank you so much for listening.